If you're 60, 70, or 80 years old, and walking has become harder than it used to be, I want you to listen closely, because what I am about to share could change the rest of your life. Walking is not the only way to stay strong. It never was. And for many of you watching right now, it may no longer be the right way. Your knees may ache, your hips may protest, your balance may not be what it once was. And if that is true for you, I do not want you to feel discouraged. I want you to feel relieved. Because today, I am going to share 5 things you can do instead of walking. Things that are gentler on your body, but just as powerful, sometimes even more powerful, for keeping you strong, steady, and independent in the years ahead. I have spent years listening to the stories of people your age, sitting across kitchen tables, hearing about the small fears that no one else seems to talk about openly. The fear of falling alone in the house. The fear of becoming a burden to children who already have their own busy lives. The fear that the body which once carried you through decades of work, of raising a family, of building a life, might now be quietly giving up on you. I want you to know that none of these fears make you weak. They make you human. And today, I want to hand you something practical to hold on to instead of fear, something you can actually do starting this week to feel steadier, stronger, and more in control of your own body again. Before we begin, let me say this. Slowing down is not failure. It is wisdom. The body that carried you through 60, 70, or 80 years of living has earned the right to be treated with patience and respect, not pushed and punished. What matters now is not how far you can walk, or how fast, but whether you can still rise from a chair without struggling, whether you can still reach for something on a high shelf without fear of falling, whether you can still get down on the floor to play with a grandchild and get back up again on your own. That is what real strength looks like after 60. Let's talk about how to build it and keep it, without relying on your legs to carry you mile after mile. The first thing I want you to consider is water, not for drinking, though that matters too, but for moving in. If there is a pool near you, a community center, a gym, even a hotel that allows guests to use their facilities, I want you to think seriously about spending time in it. Here is why water is so remarkable for a body that has lived a long life. When you are submerged in water up to your chest, it takes a significant amount of weight off your joints, your knees, your hips, your lower back. They are no longer carrying your full body weight the way they do on land, and yet the water itself creates resistance. Every movement you make, whether it is walking slowly across the shallow end, or moving your arms in gentle circles, or simply treading water, becomes a workout, because water pushes back against you in every direction. This is why so many people who cannot walk comfortably on land find that they can move freely and even joyfully in water. I have known men and women in their 70s and 80s who could barely make it down their own driveway, but who moved with grace and confidence once they were in a pool. Some of them told me it was the first time in years they felt like their old selves again. There is something else water gives you that walking on land cannot. Community. Water aerobics classes, gentle swim groups, aqua fitness sessions designed specifically for older adults. These are filled with people your age, facing the same challenges, cheering each other on. Loneliness is one of the quiet dangers of growing older. And if you can find an activity that heals your body and your spirit at the same time, that is not just exercise. That is medicine for the whole person. If you have never tried it, start small. 15 minutes in the shallow end, moving your arms and legs slowly, is enough to begin. You do not need to swim laps. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You simply need to move and let the water do the rest. I remember hearing about a woman who had spent most of her 70s afraid to leave her house, worried she might fall on an uneven sidewalk. Her daughter finally convinced her to try a water class at the local recreation center. She said that the first time she lowered herself into that pool, she nearly cried, not from sadness, but from the sheer relief of feeling her body move without pain for the first time in years. Within a few months, she was not only attending twice a week, she was the one encouraging newer members to keep coming back. That is the quiet power of finding the right kind of movement for your body. It does not just change your muscles. It can change how you see the years ahead of you. The second thing I want to introduce you to is something ancient, something that has been practiced for centuries by people who understood, long before modern medicine confirmed it, that slow and deliberate movement holds a kind of power that fast and forceful movement does not. I am talking about Tai Chi. If you have ever seen a group of older adults in a park, moving slowly through what looks almost like a dance, shifting their weight gently from one leg to another, extending their arms in flowing, unhurried motions, that is Tai Chi. And I want to tell you something important. Researchers who study aging and balance have found that this slow, graceful practice can meaningfully reduce the risk of falling. Not by making you stronger in the way lifting weights does, but by teaching your body, your muscles, your inner ear, your nervous system, how to find balance again, how to trust your own 2 feet. Falling is one of the greatest fears many people carry quietly as they age, and rightfully so. A fall in your 60s might mean a bruise and a scare. A fall in your 70s or 80s can mean a broken hip, a hospital stay, a loss of independence that is difficult to reclaim. Tai Chi does not just exercise your body. It rebuilds the quiet, invisible systems that keep you upright and steady, the systems most people never think about until they begin to fail. What I love most about Tai Chi is that it asks nothing painful of you. There is no jumping. There is no straining. There is no risk of falling during the practice itself, because every movement is slow, controlled, and grounded. You can learn it standing near a wall or a sturdy chair for support if you need it. You can learn it sitting down if standing for long periods is difficult. Many communities offer free or low-cost classes specifically for older adults, and there are also patient, gentle instructors online who teach beginner routines you can follow from your own living room. Give it 2 weeks, just 2 weeks of 10 minutes a day. Pay attention to how your balance feels when you walk to the mailbox, when you step out of the shower, when you rise in the middle of the night. Many people notice a difference before they expect to, and that difference is not small. It is the difference between confidence and fear in your own home. Think about what balance actually protects. It is not just about avoiding a fall in front of others. It is about the quiet moments no one sees, reaching into the back of a cabinet, turning quickly when you hear your name called, stepping off a curb you did not notice was uneven. These are the moments where a strong sense of balance becomes invisible protection, working in the background of your life without you ever having to think about it. Tai Chi builds exactly that kind of quiet, dependable strength. The third thing I want to talk about is one that surprises people, because it does not look like exercise at all. It looks like sitting down. I am talking about chair-based movement, sometimes called chair yoga, sometimes simply called seated strength training. Here is the truth that nobody tells you often enough. You do not need to stand to grow stronger. You do not need to walk to build the muscles that keep you independent. Some of the most important muscles for your daily life, the ones that let you rise from a chair, climb a single step, reach for a cup on a shelf, carry a bag of groceries, can be trained while sitting comfortably in your own kitchen chair. Seated leg lifts, where you simply extend one leg out in front of you and hold it for a few seconds before lowering it. Strengthen the muscles that protect your knees. Seated marching, lifting your knees one at a time as if you're walking in place while sitting down, keeps your hip flexors active and your circulation moving. Gentle arm raises with or without light weights, even a can of soup in each hand. Build the shoulder and arm strength that lets you carry your own belongings without asking for help. There was a study conducted by researchers focused on aging that followed people over the course of 2 years. Those who practiced simple seated leg exercises regularly preserved significantly more thigh strength than those who remained sedentary. Thigh strength does not sound glamorous, but let me tell you what it means in practical terms. It means the difference between rising from a chair smoothly and needing someone to pull you up. It means the difference between climbing stairs with confidence and gripping the railing in fear. That is not a small thing. That is the difference between dependence and independence. And there is something else. Instructors and doctors who work closely with older adults have observed that this kind of gentle, rhythmic movement seems to support mental clarity as well. Some describe a kind of mental fog lifting after consistent chair-based practice, a sharper memory, an easier time focusing. Whether that comes from improved circulation or simply the quiet satisfaction of having moved your body with intention, I cannot say for certain. But I have heard this same story from enough people to believe there is something real in it. You do not need equipment. You do not need a gym membership. You need a sturdy chair, 10 to 15 minutes, and the willingness to begin exactly where you are. I think of chair exercise as one of the most honest forms of movement there is. It asks nothing of you that you cannot give. It does not care if you used to run marathons or if you have never exercised a day in your life. It simply meets you in your kitchen, in your living room, in front of your favorite morning show, and asks you to move a little, consistently, with kindness toward yourself. Some of the strongest, most independent older adults I have ever known built their strength this way, quietly, patiently, one seated repetition at a time. The fourth thing I want you to consider is cycling, but let me be clear about what kind of cycling I mean. I am not talking about a bicycle balanced on 2 wheels, weaving through traffic. I am talking about a stationary bike, or even better for many of you, a recumbent bike, the kind with a wide, supportive seat and a backrest, where you pedal while sitting in a reclined, comfortable position. Cycling in this form gives you something walking cannot always offer at this stage of life: real cardiovascular exercise, the kind that strengthens your heart and lungs, without any impact at all on your joints. There is no jarring. There is no pounding on pavement. Your feet never leave contact with the pedals, which means there is no risk of losing your balance or falling. For someone who has been told to protect their knees, or who lives with arthritis, this is often one of the most forgiving and most effective forms of exercise available. A recumbent bike in particular is worth its cost in gold for many older adults, because the wide seat and back support mean you are never straining to stay upright. You can pedal at whatever pace feels right for you, 5 minutes to start, gradually building to 20 or 30, all while sitting in comfort. Some people keep a bike like this in front of their television and pedal gently while watching their favorite program in the evening. There is no reason exercise has to feel like a chore. It can simply become part of how you already spend your time. What cycling gives you, beyond the physical benefits, is a quiet kind of confidence. Your heart grows stronger. Your stamina improves. Everyday tasks, climbing a flight of stairs, carrying laundry, walking through a large store, begin to feel less exhausting. And because there is no impact, you can do it nearly every day without fear of overuse or injury. If purchasing a bike is not possible for you right now, many community centers and senior centers have them available, often at little to no cost. It is worth asking. Sometimes the thing that changes your health most significantly is not expensive at all. It is simply unused, waiting for you a few miles from home. I have spoken with men in their 80s who gave up walking outdoors years ago because of hip pain, but who still ride a recumbent bike most mornings, coffee in hand afterward, feeling as though they accomplished something before the day even began. There is a certain dignity in that, in refusing to let one limitation define what your body is still capable of. The bike does not replace what walking once gave you. It simply offers a new way to keep giving your heart what it needs. The fifth and final thing I want to share with you is perhaps the most overlooked, and yet I believe it may be the most important. I am talking about gentle resistance training, using light weights, resistance bands, or even your own body weight to preserve and rebuild your muscle. Here is something I want you to understand clearly, because very few people explain it well. Starting in your 30s and accelerating as you move through your 60s, 70s, and 80s, the human body naturally loses muscle mass. This is not a personal failing. It is simply what happens with time unless you actively work against it. And here is the part that matters most. Muscle is not just about strength or appearance. Muscle is what protects your joints. Muscle is what keeps your metabolism functioning well. Muscle is what catches you when you stumble, the split second of strength that stops a trip from becoming a fall. Without it, your bones and joints absorb all the stress alone. The encouraging truth, confirmed by researchers who study strength training in older populations, is that resistance training remains both safe and remarkably effective even into your 80s. Your body does not lose the ability to grow stronger. It simply needs the right kind of invitation. This does not mean lifting heavy weights at a gym. And please, if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Heavy deadlifts, deep squats, anything that strains your lower back without perfect form, these are not what I am suggesting, and can do real harm to a body that has not trained this way in decades. What I am suggesting is much gentler. Light dumbbells, 1, 2, perhaps 3 pounds to begin. Resistance bands, inexpensive and easy to store, that you can loop around your feet or hands to create gentle tension. Sit-to-stand exercises, simply rising from a chair and sitting back down slowly and with control, 10 times, twice a day, which strengthens your legs more effectively than almost any machine at a gym. Twice a week is enough to begin seeing real change, not hours of effort, not exhausting yourself, simply showing your muscles, consistently and gently, that they are still needed, still valued, still capable of growing stronger. I want you to think of muscle not as something for athletes or younger people chasing a certain look. Think of it instead as your insurance policy, quietly protecting your independence. Every rise from a chair without help, every step up a curb without hesitation, every grocery bag you carry into the house yourself, these are the true rewards of resistance training in your later years. Not a stronger appearance, but a stronger, freer life. Now, having shared these 5 things with you, water movement, Tai Chi, chair-based exercise, gentle cycling, and light resistance training, I want to leave you with something more important than any single exercise. The real secret to aging well is not found in any one activity. It is found in consistency, in patience, and in the willingness to meet your body exactly where it is today, rather than where it was 20 years ago, or where you wish it could be. So many people, when walking becomes difficult, simply stop moving altogether. They sit down, and they do not get back up, not because they cannot, but because they believe there is no alternative left for them. I hope today has shown you that this is simply not true. There are gentler paths forward, ones that ask less of your joints and more of your intention, and they are just as capable of keeping you strong, steady, and independent for the years still ahead of you. I have met many people in their 80s and even their 90s who move with more ease and confidence than people decades younger, not because they were lucky, but because they never stopped. They simply adjusted how they moved. They found the version of movement that respected their body's story, rather than fighting against it. If you take one thing from everything I have shared today, let it be this: your legs may tire, your knees may ache, but your strength does not have to end where walking becomes difficult. There is always another way forward, gentler, wiser, and just as capable of carrying you through the years still waiting for you. I think often about how much unnecessary suffering comes not from aging itself, but from believing that aging leaves us with no choices. That belief convinces people to sit down and stop trying, long before their bodies have actually given up. But your body is more capable, more adaptable, and more forgiving than you have likely been told. It does not need you to move the way you did at 30. It simply needs you to keep moving, in whatever way it can manage today, and to trust that today's effort is quietly building tomorrow's strength. Do not compare yourself to who you used to be. Compare yourself only to who you were last month. Are you a little steadier on your feet? Are you rising from your chair a little easier? Are you sleeping a little better at night? These small, quiet victories are the true measure of aging well, and they are available to you starting today, regardless of what your knees or hips have decided to complain about this week. If this brought you comfort, or gave you something new to try this week, consider staying with us here at Golden Wisdom. We are building a place for people exactly like you, people who understand that growing older is not the end of strength, but simply a new chapter in learning how to carry it. Take care of yourself this week. Move gently, move often, and trust that your body still has more strength in it than you have been giving it credit for.